Welcome to the All of You podcast, where we believe healthy relationships are created by growing individually and pursuing a healthy relationship with yourself.
So let's take a deep breath. Settle in and grow together.
This is our first guest, and none better than BC Serna, who's been part of our journey this far, like a huge part of it. One of our mentors and my coaches, and he's probably the most authentic voice online, I think, and just helps people build communities. He's traveled the world and helped people with his camera gear, with his heart, with his love, and he's inspired people, and then now he helps people find their purpose and share it with the world. So we're so excited to have you, man. I'm happy to call you a brother and a friend and a mentor for both of us.
Dude, honored to be here, man. I'm one of your guys' biggest fans. You guys, like, the only podcast that comes up on my Spotify notification is yours when you guys upload one. So it's cool because I think I must have subscribed, but every time you guys drop an episode, it pops up on my notification. I'm like, sweet.
Oh, I love that.
So
That's awesome.
Honored to be here.
Well, we're so happy to have you on here because you've actually played a pretty critical role in us getting to where we are. I know Dave worked with you one-on-one for a long time and just really helped him kind of being more authentic online. And we found you because when we were kind of starting our healing journeys, we were looking for other people on the same path that were farther ahead than we were. We saw your content and we're floored. We're like, whoa, this is just... everything was resonating so deeply, and the way that you share just really vulnerably online was so inspiring. But before kind of talking a little bit about that, I'd love to hear what actually kicked off your healing journey.
Oh, thanks, Shiv. Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long journey for sure of just trying to figure out what it all is. And I think because I was young when I started school and I never really fit in, I wasn't good at anything, I felt like there was something off in my ecosystem for my entire life. And then I started traveling the world at 19, and I just was like, oh, this world is bigger than my bubble of my suburbs. And I didn't know what I believed. I didn't know who I was. My entire foundation of even God or America, like, it just all crumbled at such a young age, and I just had to start rebuilding the pieces and had to like grow up really fast and mature really fast because I got really fortunate to do a study abroad program when I was 19, but then I got a job with them. So at 19 years old, I was sent around the world to countries I didn't speak the language, and my job was to coordinate study abroad programs. So I would plan productions for hundreds of college students traveling the world. And I was 19 years old. I've never wore a dress suit my entire life. So now I'm like meeting with politicians and churches and Lions clubs and Rotaries clubs, bringing international students around the world. And I was just like a fraud. I was a fraud. I mean, I was like, what am I doing? I don't know anything about the world. And so I felt like it was my second chance at life because I failed college so bad that I was like, BC, you cannot fail this. And so I took it so serious when I was 19 years old. And just, I don't know, just started learning and was absorbing the human experience in different ways. And I got to live with monks in Asia, and I was like all around the world. And so for me, I just had to start maturing really quick. And then that just kind of spiraled into uncovering my human experience. I had to deconstruct my religion of Christianity or America. And after that deconstruction happened, I had to learn what I wasn't and what I was. And in that became a lot of trauma healing and a lot of identity healing. And then after you heal, you create. And so I think after I deconstructed the foundation of like, oh, this isn't Christianity, this isn't America, this isn't what I know, after you like heal it all, deconstruct it, you're like, oh, now I can just create what I am. And so then you just create life, and you create purpose, and you create meaning, and you create art. And so I feel like, and then I just became a creator, I guess, instead of like just going through the motions.
Yeah, man. Dude, you are probably like the person that I sent to Shiv like the most. Like our content, your content was in our DMs, like back and forth between us for so often, just sparking a lot of our conversations
Crazy.
when we were struggling with relationships. Because you talk so much about men healing and the way that
Mm.
you talk about it, and like and I was healing. I was a healing man. Like I had wounds from sexuality, from trauma, just childhood trauma that I was affecting my jealousy in relationships. It was affecting the way that I was showing up with Shiv early on. And so much applied to me, man. I don't know if I've ever actually told you how much like you were part of my healing journey and the stuff that you've shared. I think I have probably in
Yeah.
one
Oh,
of our
thanks,
combos.
man.
But like, what? Why would you say like that it's so important for men to heal? Because I know that's like one of your biggest passions is just like getting more men. I always hear you say like, we need to heal the masculine. We need to heal, and men need to heal their feminine. And so like I don't know, what's something that kind of boils inside of you about that subject? I always hear you say it.
Yeah, man. I remember when I first met you and connected with you and was just like so hopeful and inspired by just your honesty. I think the number one thing everyone wants, women especially, is just honesty. And I think the fact you were so honest, so vulnerable, even though it was like, even if it was a messy honesty, like, oh man, I really am messing up. I'm like messing up as a husband or a dad, dude. Bro, it's like whatever you did, it's like not even part of the problem because you're so honest about it, you know? And that's what I think we're all begging for is just like we're just really begging for honesty. And even if it's mean or rude maybe or something difficult. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I struggled with the masculine for a long time. I was bullied. I never really had guy friends. And so I just couldn't, I didn't really like sports either. So like I was kind of like just this, I don't know, I just didn't fit in anywhere. So I had most of my friends were girls. And so I was just like confused and then got kind of lonely. And so then I started creating different programs and opportunities to find men that also like to talk about these kind of things, but also like be goofy and funny and, but yeah, I think men carry a sense of an anchor that women are so in their essence of like the moon, man. They're just like kind of all over the different every night they're in a different place. Sometimes they're a crescent, sometimes it's full. And the it's just so lucid. But the anchor of the masculine, that's what we can control. We can't really control the feminine so much, but the feminine can really rely on the masculine to anchor her, even if she's like in her emotions or not even sure what she's feeling. And so men sometimes take it personal and they kind of get emotional too, which is fine. But then really trying to ground them into like, hey, you're actually it's you can take the higher road. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it sounds so weird, but like it's okay to let her be in her process and for you to maybe not be right or like look right. I don't know if that makes any sense,
No,
but yeah,
yeah.
and then but then if men can hold the anchor well enough, I think women can. I mean, women have the codes. First of all, I think first and foremost, the women give us so much codes in our masculine. Like they reveal so much of our shadow, of our weakness, of our triggers, of our insecurities. Like they hold secret codes that no amount of money or muscles or success a man will ever get. So a woman gives us all these secret codes, and then we have to, in return, give her an anchor so solid. And so it's just this like energy force of motion and movement. And so, but men have to really lead the way. Like they have to like kind of go first, you know? They have to apologize first. They have to own their shit first. They have to like kind of yeah, they just have to take the high road if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Hey friends, wanted to interrupt you really quick to let you know that if you're looking to go deeper into your healing journey or just want support, I offer coaching services for women and Dave coaches men.
So feel free to go to the link in our bio and book a call with us. We'd love to meet you. And if you're enjoying this episode, please tap that subscribe button.
And now back to the show.
Yeah, no, yeah, it does. We were just talking about that on a podcast we just did on like all like house chores and like how much how many resentful women are out there like for house chores, right? And so we're talking about this subject of like men needing to go first and like lead their wife back to love. But dude, there's so many women that want to lead, like, or they want the love, but their man's never gonna like lead, and so they're fighting over like the house chores being 50-50. But I was like, it's got to be like love, like you got like what, because there's no 50-50 like in
Yeah.
relationships really. Like how do you boil it down? Like you do one
There's
dish and then
not.
I do the next one, like you can't really, especially with kids and all
Yeah.
that. And so like it's like
Well, I
really
think
the
the best way to
love.
say it is there's no ego, right? Like
Yeah.
like if you, what you learn. So the whole purpose of, if you want to have kids, the whole purpose of a marriage is to be sanctified, which means to be cleansed of the ego. Because when you have kids, there can't be an ego. You literally have to die the ultimate death. And so prior to children, if you haven't died, if your ego hasn't at least started to dissolve, like doing like, money and the dishes and all these like egoic like conversations of like who's winning, if that's not dead before kids come, then it's just destruction when the kids get here. And so the goal is as much dissolve of the ego as possible, because when kids get here, there's changing diapers at 4 a.m. and your partner hasn't slept, you haven't slept, your partner hasn't eaten, eaten, and and then it's game over. When you're sleep deprived, food deprived, and there's a little baby crying, you better not have an ego, because if you have an ego, then you're going to end. Period. I'm in a men's group right now with 15 men, and 12 of them are going through divorce and child custody battles. 12 out of 15. Like 12 out of, and this is when the kid within the first 2 or 3 years.
Man.
And so you think about this, like this is no game. This is not a game of like, oh, I'll heal when I have kids, or I'll heal, my kids will help me heal, which we hear that in hindsight. We hear so many parents be like, my kids really helped me heal. And it's like, yeah. And then they were the boundaries, like they were the bumpers to that like experience. And so, yeah, you just have to, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's not, well, what I was saying too is like I was just reminded of like when I was dating Shiv and I was so impressed with her, and like I wanted to know, I was driving like an hour and a half down to her house. Like I was giving it like, and I was like, I looked at her and I was like, you're telling me I wouldn't do a load of laundry for you? Like as the man that loves you, it's not, the issue isn't like whether I do chores or not. The issue is like, like is there love? Because when I'm in love, like I'll do anything, like as a man, I think most men are like that. Like when they're in love with a woman, like there's gonna be hard not to, like, he'll travel the seas to get to her, and
Yeah.
it's like it's that love
Well,
though
you
that's
feel
missing.
honored. Like for me, truthfully, when I'm doing I do most of the dishes for Issa, not out of like a game or something like that, but for me to think about this blessing her just makes me so like fucking stoked. Like I get so
Yeah,
happy being like, oh my gosh, she's gonna come home. There's gonna be no dishes. Like that's like it for me. It's almost like it's like giving one of my sons a present. Like I
yeah,
see him get so excited, and my wife might not acknowledge it all the time, but knowing that her nervous system's more calm, oh, it's like it's almost like I give myself my own points where I'm like, oh man, I get to help her. It's weird. It's because I look up to her, because I know how hard. And that was something in a video I said. I don't know if you guys saw the video where how can you tell if you're going to marry someone if you can
yeah,
see yourself giving them a foot massage every night. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know when I shot that, but basically it had a lot of debate in the comments, But the whole concept of the video was, are you with someone that you admire and that you look up to, and that you almost feel like giving them a foot massage helps the world, because like you're giving them a foot massage to bless them because they bless others? That's the best person to date, right? Or like your wife is blessing your kids, or I don't know. Yeah, just thinking of it that way.
yeah. I mean, I agree, man. It's like serving your wife. Like I don't know, how do you feel when I get up and like switch the laundry when you don't want to and stuff?
Well,
Like,
what's actually really funny is we went, for us, like somewhat, we call it viral, but I think we have like 80,000 likes on a TikTok right now. And it's about it's me talking about like the sharing of the labor in the house and how it can create resentment. And the comment section blew up with angry women at their husbands. And I didn't realize this, and this was like 2 weeks ago. And I just noticed you were cleaning the house like more than I've ever seen. Like you help For sure. And I wouldn't knock you on that, but you were doing things you don't normally do. And I'm like sitting back being like, what has gotten into you? And then I was like, hey, like I really appreciate all this cleaning you've been doing, but like why? And you're like, well, every single time I open up my phone, there's an angry woman yelling at me to clean the house. And I was like, oh, I hope this never stops going viral. Like,
Dude, well, like these women are saying like they just have no faith in their husbands. Like the shit they're talking about their husband. I was like, I'm never gonna let this be Shiv. Like in the comment section on social media,
Wow.
venting about me. Like, no, not gonna happen. Like that one, that's not our dynamic anyway. Like you would tell me, and we have that connect. But like, it broke my heart. Like so many women out there, so resentful. Like I don't know, man. And it all stems from like this masculine love, and like this, like, I don't know, men healing, right? Like I think if men heal, then they can kind of see their part of the picture, like their role,
Yeah,
right?
I think another thing is a term to help people with men healing is men feeling safe. The only reason a man can't drop into his body of vacuuming or cleaning or doing the dishes or thoughtfulness is because he's just in a fight or flight, right? So he's just triggered. He's just like trying to pay the bills. He's trying to numb himself with maybe sports or, alcohol. And so the goal of men healing, it comes down to just men feeling safe. And the more a man can be vulnerable to his woman of what he's going through and then slowly start to feel safer, then you'll notice him being more thoughtful and intentional because he just feels safe. And so, yeah, that's kind of the goal, is just men to feel like they're not on their heels, but like really kind of, okay, I'm safe. Now I can take care of, others.
Yeah.
oh, that's so, so true. I think you are very vulnerable naturally, but I think the more vulnerable that you were with me, and the more like safety we built in our relationship, we saw that where
Yeah.
like it became healthier.
Yeah, it's just a big men healing is like, I mean, it's my passion too, and it's like, and even the heal men, like you said, like a lot of them goes through divorce still, and like they're still struggling too, just because you're healing or on your healing journey. But I definitely think is a part of it. The resentment builds when there's a lack of healing.
Yeah.
I would also say, BC, you recommended a book to Dave. It was by
David Dita,
David Dita, and what was it called again?
The Way of the Superior
The
Man.
Way of the Superior Man. And I was gone for like the day. I was up visiting my family, and I came back down, and Dave had read a significant portion of that book and had a complete, I would say, like breakthrough where you had this realization of
Massive.
Like,
it was a missing link for
understanding the feminine energy is like you were like, it was funny because I came home and you were like mad at it, but like relieved that you understood it. And when you understood the feminine energy, our relationship, I have to actually thank you for recommending that book, BC, because our relationship changed so significantly when I'd be a little free flowing, I'll just call it that.
Yeah.
And you weren't like bothered by it anymore. You were like, I get it. You need, like, this is what you're doing right now. Okay. Whereas before you'd be like,
I didn't understand.
What are you doing?
I did not understand, dude. And it's so funny because like I'm attracted to the feminine, obviously, but then like I was at war with the feminine. I'm like, I'm attracted to the feminine, but I don't want you to be feminine, And so like I had to start to accept that, like, okay, if I'm gonna be attracted, if I want like the feminine in my home and like everything that comes with the feminine energy, then I have to accept all of the feminine energy. And it was frustrating, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever have like a moment like that too when you were learning on your journey? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, us all of us men have, where it's really coming down to we're two different operating systems. There's an Apple computer and an Android phone, and so it's two different operating systems. So we always project how we think and what we think onto how everyone should think, and that we do that from politics to religion, but especially within our dynamic of romance. And so, especially the way we were raised was like, that's not how you do a dish. And it's like, well, this is how I do the dishes. And it's like, well, you're wrong. And it's like, no. There are a million ways to do the dishes. Some people hand dry, some people air dry, some people do. So realizing there,
I feel personally attacked by that one, BC.
Yeah, and well, that's like the whole metaphor of everything. So there's no right way to do the dish. Is everything else? It is our perception, and so we just have to learn how to be like, oh, maybe people air dry dishes, and maybe people hand dry, and maybe people put them in the dishwasher. And once we start to learn that, we for an entire life we have obviously empathy, compassion, but yeah, for me personally, oh man, one of my early on relationships for sure definitely found out what triggers us, what jealousy is, what insecurity is, what all those things are, and then just looking at yourself and being like, oh man, how did that come out of me? And then you're like, damn, I don't want, so then you start to heal, you start to find, hopefully you start to find integrity. Most men spiral with shame. So they have shame for what they've done or what they said, and they spiral, numb, alcohol, avoidance, dating the same person. And they think that, it's just not going to end, but it's not until you expose the shame, then the healing starts.
Yeah, so well said, man.
Well, I know that community building is a huge passion of yours, and we've been super blessed to be part of your inner circle community and met some amazing relationships through that. But I was curious, where did that passion come from for you?
Yeah, community is really everything for me at the end of the day. I was lonely for most of my life and never fit in, never belonged, never even in church, man. Like I had questions about God and Jesus, and I got kicked out of churches because I was, like just not following the sheep, I guess. And so once I started, getting kind of kicked out of churches, and then spiritual groups, didn't like to talk about Jesus, and churches didn't like about talking about changing the world. It was all these different things where I was like, man, there's nowhere I can just ask questions, I guess, or like entertain certain ideologies. And so I started just creating spaces and atmospheres and conversations. And so the first event I ever hosted was a documentary night, and it was a documentary that's changed my life. And I was like, I'm going to watch this again. Might as well invite some people over. So like 3 people came to my house, or like maybe 4. And then we watched the movie and then talked about it afterwards. And the next week I did a new documentary, and then there was like 10 people, and then there was 30 people. And then like we had like 50 people at my house watching a documentary. And at the end, we would all talk about it in a circle. And it was the first time I just got to taste what it feels like to just create what you wish existed. And it was just a space where all were welcome, that no one subscribe to the same religion or politics or ideologies, but yet we all found communion and conversations and connections through it all. And I didn't realize how important that was, I guess. But then I was like, oh man, I don't know if there's much like that exists like that, because usually it's like you go to a church, you're not sure what you believe, you feel so isolated. They're speaking Christianese where they're like, what the heck does that even mean? I've never even heard someone use that word. And then you go to a spiritual community. It's just like, I think I found such compassion that if I bring some Christian friends to a spiritual event, I can explain to them certain things that are happening at the spiritual event. And if I bring spiritual people to a church, I can explain to them, like, I'm just like, I have this compassion of people feeling like, oh man, I don't know if I belong here or if I'm being judged. And I know they're feeling more than anyone. Even when I used to go to like events in LA, I remember feeling like I didn't fit in because I wasn't cool or whatever. So now when I used to host events in LA, the whole thing was like, go meet someone new. Here's an icebreaker. Here's like a way to go meet them. So you would actually guaranteed leave one of my events like having new friends, because it wasn't just like go socialize, good luck, introverts. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful, because it's taking the pain that you've had of feeling outcast and misunderstood, and then actually creating a space for people to actually feel belonging. And that's such a cool way to use your gifts for good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in like the last like I don't know 8 months that I've like known you more on a personal level, it's like I've probably met, dude, I don't even know, 100 people through your community, like at least probably, and I've met up with them in person, and like just having known you, I've been able to meet probably 100 people. Like that's insane, like it's actually like a huge gift. And I mean, some of like the people I talk to most these days are people I met through you. And so I know you know that, but like
I didn't know that, man. That's cool.
I just want to tell you that. Yeah.
I didn't know there's that many people, but I mean that's my dream, bro. Like that's it, dude. Like you and Nosh, you and Sam, you and Nikki, like all like it's if I were to say I have one superpower, and I didn't know this for a long part of my life, but I would like host an event or a mastermind or a community thing, and everyone in that room would be medicine for each other. And I was like, oh, I'm not the medicine for everyone. It's not me being on stage with a microphone that's going to change any of these people's lives. It's them meeting the people they need to meet. And then in that, Nikki has medicine for you guys have medicine for Nikki, and it just all trickles. And so I was like, oh, just build it and they'll come. And then I don't have to like be the person on the stage with the microphone saying the perfect thing. I don't need to say anything. I just need to get them in the room. And that's where I really found my true strength and superpower was like, oh, I don't know how, but I magnetize somehow the coolest people. And then in that, people like become friends and couples and start, stuff together. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for you and Nosh to meet up, and that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we already met once in person, and
cool.
and you were the one that texted me to go that day to Sam's event. And so
well, that was a big deal for you coming to that because, yeah, man. And I remember you guys were like trying to figure out to come, but like I'm like, yo, if you could just taste this community, like there's zero hierarchy, there's zero like, and I don't think you guys stayed for the Daybreaker thing long, right? Is that when you met everyone?
No, we went to Daybreaker, but we didn't know anyone at that point. Like
when did you meet everyone?
At Sam's event in Malibu.
It was a breathwork, meditation, and silent disco on the beach.
That's right. Cool.
Yeah.
With DJ Beach Ball and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Whitney was there.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Oh, yeah. Whitney would be a great guest for your guys' show.
Yeah, for sure.
Love that.
We're supposed to connect with Nosh too soon, and like, yeah, man, it's just been really cool. Like, I can't explain how important, and I can say for sure, I'm pretty confident this podcast would not still be going if it wasn't like the support of the Purpose community and your support and the knowledge I got from you. Like, I think we would have probably been one of those statistics of podcasts that don't make it to 20 episodes. Yeah. And I think this is probably like episode 40 or 41. It's like we're rolling now, That's
insane.
I
think the biggest thing, what I'm learning a lot is the distinction between friends and community. And so you and Shiv have people that you're friends with and that you love to death and that you can celebrate your birthdays together, but they're most likely not someone you call to talk about an episode doing really well or a TikTok video going viral or a coaching client you just signed. And so your purpose almost separates from your friends, which is really weird some days because you're like, damn, I want to tell my friends that I love about my viral video, about our viral podcast, about the coaching client. And it's just this weird space to be in where it's like, when you guys potentially host your first podcast event for all of you, there's going to be people that follow you and that listen to your podcast, but maybe some of your friends don't even show up potentially, and it's just this weird space of like, oh, this is interesting. So I'm really trying to encourage people when they're thinking of community. So many people think like, I have like 2 or 3 really good friends. Like I have friends, and it's like, community is a little bit different. It's actually a little bit more like our purpose and our passions. And so learning to separate the two helps us a little bit, of like you calling Nosh because you have an idea for a podcast is a little bit different than you calling an old friend that you used to work with, And so that's the big thing. I think community is really important to like decipher.
Yeah. How have you felt that, man? Like, have you had some experiences of, like, are you still friends with, because I think like the more you go into it, it's almost like,
well, I had to, that's just it's a realization I had. I was like, oh, wow, this is someone that's in my community that I love to death, but I wouldn't actually be friends with, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But I just had to, start building boundaries, I guess, and awareness and attention to that like I am this goofy, fun, like kind of carefree dude. And there's people that like maybe wouldn't be a friend with me, but would be someone in my community. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird place. It's really
dude. I get it, because we're not like gonna jive. Our vibes aren't always gonna like mesh with other people, but like, I don't know. Just the further you go down, like you've been on this journey for a long time, so I can imagine like it's almost hard to keep up with friends too. Who aren't in like your work when your work is like healing and trauma healing and so heart led, like it's kind of hard to be friends with people who aren't into that, or is that not been difficult for you?
Well, there's 3 pockets, right? So there's like everyone should have mentor or coach or people that are like that inspire them, that they're friends with. Then they have your friends that you're just goofy, kind of same level, and then you have people you mentor and that you coach. And so like, really separating these three and trying to figure out what season of life you're in, where you're like, oh cool, I'm getting poured into from this men's group that I'm part of, or this coach or this mentor I have, or I'm just hanging out with my friends watching a game. And then you're like, oh, now I'm mentoring people that look up to me, that I can kind of inspire and change their lives. And so, yeah, you kind of just go in those three, kind of spaces a little bit. And then there's family, obviously, somewhere in there as well. But I think for me, I try my best to be inviting as possible, where if someone really needs me, they feel safe enough to reach out to me. But my sphere has grown too big to where like I don't know what I don't know. And so some people will be like, man, BC, I haven't talked to BC in like 6 months. And someone's like, well, have you called him? And it's like, no. It's like, you might want to like text or call him, it's like, and so my real friends have crazy empathy and compassion for, what I do. And I'm busy and I have family and kids. But then there are, people who you love to death that have expectations. And I always tell people, like, you're going to let someone down. You're going to let your kids down, your wife down, or your friends down, or your family down. You just choose who you let down. And there's some people you can't let down. So you got to be careful, because if you're about to let your kids or your wife down because you don't want to let your friends or family down, then you're going to drop that ball. And so I would rather disappoint friends and family and not my kids and wife. But you have to just be ready that you're going to disappoint them. You only have so much water in your cup every day. And so I think we're so afraid to disappoint anyone that we end up disappointing everyone, because we just become paralyzed. And so realizing it's like, no, there's probably 3 people that are friends of mine that I haven't texted back. And they either know that, that's me and that's, that, or they text me again. And yeah.
Yeah.
So just be
I
ready to
resonate.
disappoint people. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I resonate with that so much, of feeling like I don't know who, like, I don't want to disappoint anyone. So I just don't do anything. And then everyone's disappointed in me. And then I used to just go straight into my shame and be like, I'm a terrible friend and partner and stepmom and this and that. And I've had to like grow in my awareness of that, of like, okay, what's the ball I'm going to drop? I'm choosing that one. Okay. If they love me, they'll understand. And it's a hard one to learn, for
Oh,
sure.
it's so hard. It messes with it messes with everything, because we feel like we're failing when we disappoint someone. I didn't call my mom back. I didn't call, but we disappoint ourselves a lot. And usually when we're trying not to disappoint others, we always disappoint ourselves. And then when we disappoint ourselves, that spirals into another space as well. And so, yeah, you kind of just learn how to live with it, like Dave, some days you have so much on your plate with the edits, the family, your everything you're doing with the wedding. I think when you guys were going through that wedding portal, there was so much coming to the surface for you guys, because you were like, there's not enough time in the day. And
Yeah.
like we might even forget to invite someone. Like there was that portal for you guys was such an initiation, and
Yeah.
through that initiation, you survived, thank God. But then you realize the value of time. You realize the value of like, obviously relaxation time too, because I don't think that season of your life, that portal you went through, there was very much relaxing at all. If anything, there was opposite. It
No.
was constantly stressed. And so
Yeah.
then you got through that portal, and then you drop back into your body, and then you're like, wait a second, Dave, it's okay to just sit and watch the sunrise and read a book and like eat strawberries. You don't have to be editing. You don't have to be like, and like just giving yourself that grace of just like, wait a second, the only reason I've worked my entire life was so that I can play with my daughter, so that I can watch the sunrise and read a book and eat strawberries. Like this is like, we in the American culture, it's always more money, more followers, more content. And we need the harmony of the balance. That's why we need the balance between the masculine and feminine. My wife is so good at put my feet back on the ground, because my brain, are you kidding me? Like I have fucking ideas. I wake up with ideas of videos I want to make and shit I want to say. And my wife like was really good at bringing me back into like my body and my feet on the ground. But yeah, man, it's tough. That's why we need that balance between the masculine and feminine, And sometimes our wives, are maybe a little too flowy, and then we can bring them into the masculine. But it's a dance, man, and we mess up and we stumble and we dance and we fail, and the whole thing is we're not defined by those failures. They're just stumbling. We're just like, oh, cool, let's keep dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
for sure. I have a question for you. Like, as you've grown and gotten more followers and like grown on this journey and hosting these masterminds and stuff, how how have you dealt with like your own failures? Like I've even had a hard time with that recently. I think I talked about it like on an episode or two ago, where it was like, like coaching others. Sometimes now I'm holding myself to a higher standard, I guess is what I'm saying. And when you make mistakes or like, like I'm still human. Like how do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
balance that? Like that humanness and like authenticity, I guess, without, you know, being scared of, not positioning yourself as like I don't know, somebody that can help other people too.
I think it's just I mean, that's a great question. I feel like I'm not that hard on myself. I'm very lighthearted, like when I make my mistakes, I'm aware. And I think when the biggest thing the feminine want from their masculine is just the awareness of the mistake and not to sweep it under the rug or, because we're harder on ourselves than anyone. And sometimes the feminine wants us to like just acknowledge it, and it's like, okay, chill. Like I'm already beating myself up over this. And so the feminine obviously let him breathe, give him space. He feels bad enough about the thing that he's did or said. And then as the masculine, we hate failing. We hate making mistakes. We hate being out of integrity. Um, and so we're always trying our best, but like, yeah, we're going to slip and we're going to mess up. And so, but the grace that we have on ourselves is so important because everyone's going to mess up. Like, I'm going to forgive. My kids are going to break shit. My kids are going to get arrested. My kids are going to like, freaking be crazy, wild kids. And so we just have to have the same level of grace on them and ourselves and just like realize we're trying our best. And the fact that we're aware of it every single time, that's all that you can do is like, wait a second. I'm aware. Like most people aren't even aware they're hurting others or they're being rude or inconsiderate or like leaving the dishes in the sink for their wife to do. Like we are trying our best. And so just realize that every single time, be like, wait, I didn't want to be triggered. I didn't want to react like that. I didn't want to do that or say that. And I'm going to do better next time. But then you just have to be able to alchemize that really quick, and not dwell on it too much.
Alchemize it. That's so
Yeah.
good, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm never gonna be perfect. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm trying. I'm just never,
Oh
never
yeah.
gonna happen, bro. Like
Oh yeah. No,
I'm
no, no,
I'm,
no. That's not the goal, man. The
I'm
goal is the
stressed,
goal is
dude.
just the goal
Yeah.
is awareness, man. The goal is just awareness. We all have triggers. We all have our low moments. We all have our Issa and I are, you know, just yeah, we're aware of it, and we for us we make comical stuff out of it. Like I'm like, oh, you hungry? Like even when she's in her triggered moment and like being rude, I'll be like, oh, you pretty hungry? Should we feed you? And like, and she's still triggered, and I can, and so sometimes the humor helps alleviate the
Yeah.
seriousness, and so humor is a key ingredient, and it's so uncomfortable because sometimes the humor can make it feel like it's passiveness or that like it's not acknowledging the awareness, but the humor can sometimes actually like help like
Right.
Yeah.
like
Like break
melt
it
it, I
up. Like
guess. Yeah, break it up.
yeah.
Be like like what are we talking about? Like are we really fighting about this or like even like I mean, sometimes Issa and I are in it, and I literally, when you're angry, you're angry, but sometimes I break character, if that makes sense, where like she's so cute, and I'm just like, I start laughing, and I don't mean be mean to her, but I'm just like, dude, she's so cute that I just start laughing, and like in the middle of an argument or a fight, and then she's like, why are you laughing? I was like, babe, you're just cute. Like, I can't not be mad right now. Like, when Koa does something wrong, my 1-year-old, he's so cute that like me and Issa both laugh at it, and so. And then Koa gets away with it because we literally break character. And the same happens when Issa and I are in arguments sometimes where it's like, and then when the laughter can kind of be like, man, what are we even talking about? We're not even fighting about anything that's real. It's just like this one of us had an expectation or something that, and it's usually our self that we're pretty much mad at ourself about something, even though they're doing something. It's usually like we're like a little bit, something else is going on.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like if I can use humor, you don't even get mad.
Oh, it
Yeah.
helps so much.
Mm.
Because
Oh, it's
sometimes I
medicine.
sometimes I need that. Like
Oh yeah.
sometimes when I'm like really out there, like I'm so triggered that I'm just like I'm on another planet.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think I'm right. Like when I'm if I don't catch it far enough, fast enough, like right, if I don't have that awareness, I can go zero to another planet so quick. And then if Dave's able to use humor to be like, okay, alien, like which, what planet do you come from? Then I'm able to be like, oh, I'm totally being an alien right now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like, and it helps too because it's like he's not. It's worse if I feel like he's mad at me, but if he's laughing at me, then I'm like, oh, it's almost a cue that we're gonna resolve it quicker. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, he's down to resolve this. He's not
Yeah.
he's not trying to go to war against me. He's actually
Yeah.
trying to like diffuse the situation and be a partner. And like if he's able to laugh at it, then like we're not going to have to sit and talk through this as long. Like we can resolve faster. I'm down. But
Yeah.
I would also say it can be tricky because if like at the wrong moment, Dave is like, "Oh, do you need a snack?" I might be like, "Yeah, I do need a snack." Like I could,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
there's
Yeah. There's discernment's important, but also we make mistakes, and I'll do humor when he said does not ready for it or want it, and yeah, it's tough. It's hard. It's so hard. It's so complex. There's so many factors being thrown at us. It could be her mom texted her about something and she's off because of that. It could be there's so many things coming at us all the time that realizing when our partner is reactive towards us or in her own space or in their own space, like there's just so many factors. And so there is no perfect, like, you could see all these therapist coaches that are like, so enlightened that don't use humor at all. Everything's so serious when it comes to parenting and so serious when it comes to their relationship. And it's like, are you safe right now? It's like, what are we talking? Like that, I personally, that would feel like obnoxious. I think women would at one point be like, Jesus Christ, just like make a joke, right? Like these intellectual people that are like, I could tell you're triggered right now, so there must be something going on in your parasympathetic nervous system. Can you breathe from your left nostril? It's like, can you regulate yourself? It's just like, there's got to, and I think that's why, yeah, Dave, you're like you, and both you guys, but also we relate so much, is there's got to be levity from this humor of like this, we take things way too serious, and when your kids are triggered or your partner's triggered, it's just like, there has to be a level of like, yeah, like you almost know when someone is so healed or embodied or even close to God that they don't have to even say it or try. Like they don't have to prove that they know what the nervous system is or a trigger is. They don't need to prove God or spirituality. They're just like they're just embodied to where like they don't even have to say scripture or smart stuff, and they can almost make you still feel so safe. And so I think the goal is embodiment, where it's nothing of like right or wrong or up or down. It's just like, no, this is hard. We're going, like, even when Nisa and I go into moments and there's maybe like people around, like I don't think about it. I don't care. I'm just, I'm in my own process of just being like, yeah, this is, there's no such thing as a couple that's not going to be fighting or arguing. It's just if or how or when or how quick they rebound from their arguments. And yeah.
Oh, that was very
So
beautifully said and so spot on. I'm actually kind of something I'm picked up from what you said I'm curious about is because I agree it's like a felt thing. You can feel like when someone has healed and is embodying this like this it's almost an energy of safety. And I'm curious if you feel like the more you've healed, the more you've gotten closer to God and what that's looked like for you.
Oh, for sure. But you don't have to prove it, you just know your truth. You know that you don't know much. You know that you know what you know, but you no longer have to prove to your family members or your friends or some people you meet on the street or really prove anything to anyone. Like the idea that if when all of you becomes like a million downloads and you guys walk into a coffee shop, you won't even, I mean, you won't even have to try to be like, yo, we're podcasters, can we have a free coffee? Like there's just this essence of like knowing your impact and what you do, and you're confident in your purpose and in your embodiment that yeah, you just become one with God. You become that creator divinely connected with God, and it's like effortless. And like, I mean, I go to, I mean, I don't want to be like, I go to things and events where I never tell anyone what I do or who I am, and I try my best to not even like steer any attention towards me, and I love it. It's just like a freedom in that, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that kind of sounds like a little bit of like a death of the ego too. Like it's the realization it's not about you is
Yeah,
kind of what
yeah,
I'm
kind
hearing
of,
a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you become very yeah, just I don't know, grateful, I guess is a good way. You're just so grateful for it all, and so you're just kind of like yeah, the louder someone is, the probably the more unsure of their self they are. Like the louder a Christian is, they're probably not actually that studied in theology, right? The louder someone is usually a reflection of like the more insecure they actually are of the topic or conversation. And the quieter, more embodied someone is, they probably just, know their truth or a truth and they don't need to prove it. And so yeah, the goal is, even in Issa and I get in a thing, it's not to take it personal, right? We don't take anything personal. And there is no winning because even when she might win a conversation or fight, then she didn't actually win because now we're even further apart. And so there is no winning in like these kind of things. The winning is, can we not have to win? Like you do not have to be proven right or wrong. And so that's like the real winning. And in unhealthy relationships, unhealthy couples, there is like this hierarchy of winning and dishes or whatever it is.
Oh, I've been there. I have
Yeah.
spent my time trying to win,
Yeah.
and
We
I
all
had to
have.
learn the hard way that that is not winning. That just
Yeah.
is a recipe for more fighting. So,
Yeah. The ego
yeah,
wins, the heart
I feel
loses,
that.
and then it's like, yeah.
Yes.
Last question I have for you, and then we'll let you run, man. I know thanks for spending so much
No,
time
you're
with
good,
us,
bro.
but the so I can't let you off the hook without, or I can't let you go without talking about this. So I've found in posting on social media that it's like a death of the ego. And I used to think it was the opposite. Before I ever posted on social media, if somebody posted, I'd be like, oh, it's because they're full of themselves or they want to boast. You know what I mean? Like people think that it's like a confidence, like you're louder if you're posting on social media.
Yeah.
So I think you're in my mind, you're like the king of inspiring people to post authentically as a death to the ego, not out of the ego.
Hmm.
So what would you say about that? Like what has that experience been like for you? Or what do you tell everyone else? Like I know you've told me this 1,000 times of like, dude, just post it, like let it go.
Yeah, social media has it's a mirror for us. And so the way we judge people on it, the way we don't show up on it, it's all reflecting something that we are going through. So it's like I don't really want to show off or brag or boast. And it's like, well, is there something deeper that, is it actually you're afraid to be seen? You're afraid to like share your truth or your voice or your honesty. And so yeah, we live in a time where yeah, social media is very it's I don't know. For me, I'm just like why not? We have such an ability to just like connect with people. And I think back in the day we went to church, we went to work and office spaces, we went to the bowling league, we went to the men's league, and we would have all these communal things where it was very social. And now we're all just so isolated that social media is, I'm like, yo, get on there and share. Cause like you might live in San Diego, but someone in Pittsburgh might like fall in love with you, someone in Sacramento. So it's like you might live here being struggling finding community. So just use the internet as a I think social media is a canvas. And so like I'm not an artist or a songwriter or a poet, but if I was, I'd be writing poetry and music and painting paintings all the time. And so for me, social media is my canvas. And so if I'm cathartically moving through anger or joy or bliss or God, for me, it comes out through social media instead of me painting a picture of the sunset. And so I'm always telling people just like use it as a canvas of what you're going through. Use it as a process. Use it at like even one of my, I don't know if you guys met Julia yet. She was in LA, but she lost her brother and just used TikTok as a journal. And so she would just post like 3 or 4 minute videos on TikTok, just her talking about her life. And she didn't care if one person saw it or 10 people. And for her, it just became like a diary. And that's just beautiful. It's a cool way to just like kind of create and connect. Yeah. And then of
I
course
love it, man.
there's a lot of shit out there too.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love the way that you use it, and you always tell us this too. Like the whole community, you always tell us to leave social media better than how we found it, and I just think like that's so
That's the goal.
powerful.
Yeah. I'm
And
working
yeah,
on
I
I'm
think
I'm going through. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw my last video, but I Yeah, man. Social media has been a place where I am honored to do what I do, but there's so and that's why I celebrate you guys so much because podcasting, long form content it's a different beast and it invites you into like the seventh realm of like just depth. And like I've struggled with long form content for so long because I'm afraid that there's space for more conversation. I'm celebrating you guys so much for doing long form content because this is for you guys to start out with long form and then kind of dabble in short form. That's the secret. Like I would short form is a great practice area and it's like very, simple. It's a little bit low hanging fruit. It's a little bit less intrusive because you could just say something in 2 minutes. But what you guys are doing, you guys are exposing all of your laundry. You're exposing all of your wisdom, your knowledge, your struggles, your pain. And for me, I'm like learning to do that still in the sense of like, I mean, I love podcast interviews, but my opinions, like they're so they're very triggering for a lot of people, whether it's plant medicines and Jesus and God and spirituality and trauma healing and politics. And, I have so many different thoughts, but I realize that like you guys are giving so many people permission to have these conversations with their partners. That's what your content is doing. Your content is there's women and men that listen and watch your content that had to have permission to be like, oh, maybe I can talk to my husband about this. Maybe we can have a conversation about this. And so you guys are permission givers. That's what you do. That's what your content does. That's what your mission is. And that's what my mission is. My mission is like go first and then give people permission to share, think, and say things. And so what I'm learning is the more I speak out about spirituality, God, Jesus, politics, plant medicines, all these things I'm really passionate about, trauma healing, it's giving people permission to also do so. And it's wild. Yeah, it's wild.
It's helped us a ton, man. Like I keep saying that.
Even
but
sexuality is a big one, right? So like I haven't made content around sexual stuff and I've been sleeping on a podcast. I've had an idea for a podcast about sex for 2 years now that I built like this whole PDF and I like designed this whole thing because I wanted to be so intentional about it. And I still haven't done it because my opinions change and my perspective changes. And so sometimes I feel vulnerable doing long form content because I could be wrong about certain things. I could be wrong about God and politics and Jesus and all that stuff. So there's vulnerability in podcasting and long form content. So because literally a year from now, you can look at episode 15 and be like, damn, we don't think that way anymore. I wonder if, it's weird. And then you're like, do we delete it? And it's like, no, it's part of the internet. It's part of your story.
Yeah, that was a massive block for me in the beginning. And I had to actually come to this realization that I hope a year from now, what I said in episodes in the past, I do believe different things because I want to keep evolving. I want to keep changing. And I want to kind of like you said before, I want to give people permission to do that. So a lot of what we talk about on All of You is, hey, I used to believe this and I don't believe it anymore. And here's why. And I don't think I'm 100% right, even right now with what I'm saying. I could learn more information and change, but having the heart posture, being open to change, being open to other people's opinions and ideas and the way they think, and even being open to experiencing God in different ways. Like, I share so much about how that's impacted my life because I just want others to have that same heart posture. But it is scary, all of that to say, like it is so hard scary. Because I know that there's a chance 5 years from now, someone could pull up one of our episodes and try to cancel us. And we have to sit in this like, okay, well, when that happens.
Yeah, I have a video. Sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
I have a video I made, God, it was last year sometime, about how Issa and I don't struggle with jealousy because we check out other people together and like it got a lot of opinions, tons of people like, Christians and people, conservatives, and people who are really experienced jealousy a lot had their opinions. And then this video I posted about politics, some guy brought that video up, which is so funny. And he was like, didn't you make a video about you and your wife in open relationships, like not long ago? And I was like, how did he remember that? That was like a year ago. But he brought it up, and I was like, touche, man, these people, and so, it's funny, but you got to just the thing I love about Aubrey Marcus is he's really good at that. And, you know, just other really big, you know, leaders, they're just like, yeah, I used to think this and I used to think that. And just to be able to know that you're going to be crucified either way. You're going to be crucified for being quiet and saying nothing. You're going to be crucified for trying. And so you're always going to have people saying something. And so might as well give them a show and just have fun with it. And just, the one thing I can promise is every single family member and friend that you guys have that might potentially judge you, every single one of them could only dream of having a podcast where they share what they're going through. Like everyone at the core of it dreams of sharing their knowledge, their opinions, their conspiracy theories. Like they all want to do it. Everyone wants to do it. They're terrified to do it. And so every time, you know, someone's saying something, oh, you're just on social media because you're insecure or whatever, you know, they're doing their thing, just be like, man, you would do this in a heartbeat if you could unblockage within yourself, because everyone loves the idea of community and talking and conversations. And so, yeah, you guys are just ahead of the curve. Like there's still so much meat on the table for podcasting and long form content and coaches and leaders. And I mean, it for us, it seems like everyone's a coach, but oh, I mean, you know, bro, like there's 50,000 men that live in San Diego alone. Just San Diego. I'm not even talking about California. I'm not talking about the US. I'm talking about the world. 50,000 men in San Diego that would like do anything to have a coach right now, or are about to be on the precipice of divorce or bankruptcy, or, you know, and so like you just have to be ready for when the call happens that you feel so grounded in your wisdom and expertise, you know. And that's the one thing when we were coaching, when me and you were coaching, the thing I was guiding you towards was the podcast, because it was going to help open your throat chakra and your confidence more. And so the podcasting for me, when I was pushing you towards it, was just for you to become more confident and unfuckable with, to where you could have thick skin, where like someone might have a hate comment or opinion comment, but if you want to be a men's coach, you got to have thick skin. If you want to be a leader, you have to have thick skin. And so like people are going to have a target on your head because you are, you know, putting yourself out there, you know, and so just be ready to have that thick skin. So the podcast, if anything, is just like a dojo for you to be ready for everything in life.
For sure, man. It's like you said, it's all a mirror, and it's all just triggering my own insecurities back to me. And I mean, this year has been insane, dude. Like I mean, you know, like I'm a different person already than I was like, you know, 6 months ago.
But even a year from now, dude, it's going to be wildly different too. That's why, like, dude, all of this podcasting you guys are doing and episodes and even content like random videos, dude, you're going to look back on this and it's going to be like your glory days. Like, you're just going to be like, oh my God, episode 1, I was so nervous and so insecure. Like, dude, it's comical. Like a year from now, even the videos you're putting out now, a year from now, you're going to be like, oh my God, I was still so in my head. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
I do that. I will scroll our Instagram and be like, what was this sepia phase we were in where like every video was in sepia? Like, and I'll look at it and kind of laugh, or like when we first started, the GoPro footage was brutal. And I look at it I'm like, I can't believe we put this out there.
Oh my God! I'll scroll back I'll scroll back a year every once in a while and just see like, and I'm like, what? I don't even recognize that. But I'll even scroll back 6 months and I'll be like, oh my God, I was still like, it's crazy. It's such a I mean, it's gonna be your glory days, man. It's truly, you're gonna look back and just like have so much proof of transformation, proof of courage and confidence, and you're just going to be able to show that as an example to your clients or to yourself, really, of just being like, you know what, I have come a long way, you know. Some days it's hard to tell, but like, man, seeing some of that content, it's like comical, man.
Yeah, no, man, I can't thank you enough, dude. And you know, obviously we're in your community, and I feel like one of our missions is to support you and what you're doing and your mission as well. So like we're so thankful to keep supporting you. But for the people listening, how can they find you? Where can they support?
I also want to hear what you have coming up next.
Yeah, thanks for everyone listening. I really appreciate you being on this journey with us, and make sure you leave a comment on the episode and the Spotify. Yeah, my name is BC, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok and all the good things. And I launch like cohorts and programs. I have a free school community. That's probably the best. Just go type in Purpose School, SKOOL. So I have a free school community. I think we're at like 600 people now. And then I have different programs. I'm launching a new online cohort mastermind where it's called Divine Alignment, and it's all about finding balance between the masculine and feminine within our bodies, within our hearts and our souls, and really trying to find alignment within our voice and bringing heaven to earth and confidence and clarity to our every aspect of our life. So yeah, it'll be my 7th or 8th online program, and I'm really excited. So, and then Inner Circle, you guys are part of it. So if you're also a coach and you want to learn how to, do content and coaching, there's another program. So just hit me up, send me a message.
Thanks so much for joining us. And
yeah, not just for being on the episode today, but for being someone who's inspired us to do the work that we're doing and has been helping us along the way. We're just so appreciative.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I appreciate you guys. Honored to be here. And I'm sure we'll do more episodes together. I'll be a guest again. It'll be awesome. And yeah, if you guys
please,
grow
yes.
and yeah, it'll be sweet.
yeah, for sure.